Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Good day, viewers, and welcome to the program Agriculture on the Move. I am Philip Sidney, your host. Today, we are having a very interesting topic. Anything to do with the youth in agriculture, I'm in that. So today, we are looking at the Revitalizing St. Lucia Agricultural Forum for Youth, also called SLAFI. I have three individuals here with me, nice individuals, good looking, very vibrant, and we are here to have a very good discussion in that regard. Next to me is Mr. Jameson Alphonse, who is an interim executive member of SLAFI, and we also have next to him Tiffany Suraj, who is a technical assistant in ICA, and of course we have Cindy Eugene, who is an agri and marketing officer in Sac Project. Welcome to the program, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'll start with you, Cindy, because we need to know the little history of SLAFI, and I think you have been around for a while, and you should know. So tell us, Lucia, what is SLAFI? When it began? What are the objectives of SLAFI?
Yeah. So thank you for having me, and thank you for giving SLAFI a voice to revitalize, to be revitalized. So the Sac Project, which is a project which is through the WUSC Caribbean, funded by the government of Canada, we've seen it best to try to revitalize SLAFI, a project, not a project, sorry, but a group that started in the early 2000s. And when it started, there was a chapter in Dominica, St. Vincent, Trinidad, if I can recall, but there might have been
Grenada.
more. Grenada. And there was the Caribbean Agricultural Forum for Youth. ICA was the one spearheading this. We had a mother of this program, Uname Gordon, and also the ED at the time was Dr. Chesney, who was in Costa Rica. You saw the need, at the time there was a need to have young people involved in agriculture. The problems for youth getting involved in agriculture sound still like what we have now. And that was formed to give the youth a voice and a place at the table. Ever since 2003, young persons were being represented at the Caribbean Week of Agriculture, when you met with the ministers of agriculture, and every other platform, be it all over the world, you had the voice of the youth being represented from the Caribbean. To date, we are not hearing that voice. It is silent. So now we've come back to partner with ICA and get the youth back involved in agriculture using a platform that already exists. So if SLAFI is there, it's recognized, would like to see that revitalized, and hopefully the Caribbean chapter itself will be revitalized.
So St. Lucia is pivotal in that.
Taking the lead.
Yes, taking the lead. Jameson, as a well, you were a member of SLAFI before, right?
Yes.
And now you are an interim executive member. Go back and tell us exactly what were your involvement, how SLAFI operated during your tenure.
I joined SLAFI, I think, in 2015, there about 14, 15. At that time, SLAFI was quite active. We had guys like Kurt Harris, Carl De Milter. They were very active. During that time, they had many projects working on, many initiatives working on, also working with ICA. But what happened over time, those guys passed, because SLAFI is designed for youth, within the youthful age. When those guys pass on from the youth age, there was not that continuation of SLAFI. I think that was one of the biggest challenges.
There was a void.
There was a void during that time. So in terms of the induction of new youth so that it can continue, I think that was one of the biggest challenges SLAFI faced. In terms of my involvement, when I first joined SLAFI, I heard of SLAFI on a radio program, and I went to the ICA office, and through that I was introduced to Kurt and I think a few other guys. At that time, I wanted to do a project. I have an aquaponics project. You may know that, and I went to them for assistance. They didn't help me immediately, but over time, I benefited from being a member of SLAFI. So through that, I was able to get some grant funding from Jeff. They solarized my system and gave me some equipment, and also I partake in other projects as well through being a member of SLAFI.
So there were benefits.
Yeah, definitely.
Was there a number of you involved? I mean, was there a number? Was it a group?
Yeah, it was a group effort at the time. Yeah.
Okay, but approximately how many?
Not a big group. A small, maybe around 10.
About 10.
At one point, it was 30-something persons, even
active
during
at the
my
time.
time, active. And I think we still have a project going on that started maybe in 2007 or 2009. The Hoops Project. We know that SLAFI and the Youth in Agriculture was built, and not built, but kept going by Massey. This project was one that NIA, because NIA, the chapter in Dominica, we had a Caribbean meeting and they presented a project helping out our primary schools. They call it Hoops. And the president then, Mr. Wallace, Malcolm Wallace, he shared it with me and I said, can we adopt this in St. Lucia? And he said, go ahead, because we're all in this together.
Right.
Tweaked this project, presented it to the government for assistance. We did not get that. And ICA started it off with the primary schools. Massey picked it up and it's still happening.
Wow. So where is ICA of this, Stephanie, at this point?
Thanks, Mr. Sidney. So for Hoops, actually we had a conversation about that earlier in office, and the Hoops project per se is not active 100%, but still in the logistics or the database of Massey. They're still receiving produce from, I think, the Urja Secondary School and other schools that participated or benefited from the Hoops project. But I could say, since we were already speaking about Hoops, the Hoops project is one of the initiatives or programs that we believe that will be one of the initiatives or the first initiative of SLAFI when it is revitalized very soon. Yes.
So where you're new, but going through, because we went to the records, where you believe SLAFI fell? Now we're talking revitalizing it. So what were the problems? What were the bottlenecks?
Well, Jameson spoke of it, and it was the lack of new members. So there was no membership drive for continuity, and as a result, there is still an interim. So we're trying to resolve that situation.
So that was the only problem?
I would say the visibility of SLAFI has been low, and for the last, because even me being out, for the last maybe 10 years, I can't recall hearing anything about SLAFI. So I always tell persons that if you have a group, you have an organization, and you don't have a succession, it's because persons don't see it as something for them to be part of. So a lot was happening, but it was happening quiet and, silent behind closed doors possibly.
But also, if in discussion with the more senior members, their level of the time they formed SLAFI, everybody was more like less responsible. When their responsibility increased, and they would say that their personal commitment kept them away from a lot of the activities the group used to have.
Because people grew and some had children, some got married. So the times of attending meetings at ICA, because activities such as meetings would be held at the ICA office. So perhaps members would come out all over the country and say, okay, I cannot make it because it's far, transportation, kids, there is personal responsibilities. So that somewhat contributed to the downfalls or the lack of continuity.
We did not have Zoom and all this thing at the time. So it's either you were physically there or you were not there. But when you turn 35, you had to get out. So at 35 is a cutoff point for youth.
Okay.
So then that's, people wiggle way of making it happen. But at the end of the day, this time around, it must change. You need to see this active, vibrant group that has a succession plan to ensure that you have members constantly coming in. Even the starting age, because with the helping out our primary schools, we also had assistance with the 4-H clubs. Because you had, I remember one time FAO assisted in giving a manual to teach students using using the garden as a learning tool. So the children at Cicero used to go out, measure between the plants for mathematics. You know, using the garden, weighing their produce. So you learn how to use a scale, you learn how to subtract. When you sell, you know the profit. So using the garden as a learning tool, we saw a lot of that happening then. I remember a group from Canneries, Kenneth and his wife, when Ika gave them the opportunity to go see a farm in Jamaica, to get them ready, to get a passport. I mean, Slaffy has done a lot for so many young people in St. Lucia, but this is like untold. You know, so I think now it's a time that Slaffy comes on, and with a project like SAC, because SAC Project here is one that is ready, responsive to the youth. Our focus is to work with young persons, to work with women, to work with marginalized men. And the focus for the SAC Project is to ensure that there is economic prosperity for all that we work with. At the end of the SAC Project, you should not even know that the SAC Project has ended, because it must be sustainable. The interventions that we make must be interventions along the value chain. We facilitate these interventions with the gaps. We fix these things through the mechanisms that already exist. So if there's a problem with extension, if there's a problem with the input suppliers, we address the problem so that we fix the system. We are using an inclusive market system approach where we ensure that we just don't go and give handouts. Like the intervention we intend on making with Slaffy is to see that the agency, that Slaffy in itself becomes more empowered. So at the end of SAC, or while they were on, we can see now, before we give Slaffy something in terms of even Jameson's project, maybe Jameson can have a mentee to see that somebody can, because the youth, what are the youth involved
Or you
in?
can get interns.
Part of me receiving a project, there is a mentorship program aspect of it.
Perfect.
And almost all the schools in the South have been to see my project. I know Mr. C.
Oh yes, I've been there many times.
Quite a lot of times. Been featured on a few other stuff, but it's still open for schools as well.
And SAC Project is willing. I can tell you that we can commit to get some interns there that we can support. Because that's what the youth are interested in. But the youth, sometimes we think when we speak to youth in agriculture, we want to forget the older persons who paved the way. But what we want to do for the summer is to have an internship to get the young persons assigned to the more senior farmers, so you can understudy and see what are the problems and see what technological measures you can put in place to address it. The farmers have a problem with Perdea larceny, right? The farmers have problems with spraying when they need to get. We have Crystal Cox. Crystal was a medical doctor. When she left, she was a young person, 7 years ago. She left to go join her father on the farm, and she's a full-time farmer. That was a major achievement for St. Lucia as a young person. And where was that story?
That's right.
You know, this story, Crystal's story, must be one to be documented and walked through. But even having the young persons look at drones to fertilize. So you getting involved in agriculture does not have to be you go in and put a bag on your back and you cut in, you know. No.
The thing is, we keep saying so from year back, year in, year out. We need to sexy up agriculture. You know,
I don't think we've done like a we've done evolution to show the evolution of technology in agriculture and see how we came from the dirt, what people would know and assume
as drudgery, and now
and your forefathers might say
that is where the youth come in from.
Exactly.
The youth involved in that transition.
But we're going to a break. But one of the things I want us to bear in mind at the next session is, you know, I am hearing people, organizations are working in silos. I'm not hearing, for example, agriculture, the Ministry of Agriculture involvement in what we are talking about. But we do for our break. You're watching Agriculture on the Move. Stay tuned. We'll be back soon.
What's in the food you're eating? Do you really even know? All the chemicals and hormones used to accelerate their growth. All the artificial flavoring, sweeteners and colors too. We consume and we don't spare a thought for the damage that they'll do. No, think about the children. Think about the children. How will we save them? Chemicals and GMOs are not the solution. You Use organic and join.
Excessive agrochemical use, additives, and genetically modified foods are harmful to health and the environment. Join the good food revolution. Grow, buy, and consume organic. A message from Rise St. Lucia and the Ministry of Sustainable Development with funding from the GEF Small Grants Program, UNDP.
The good food revolution.
Welcome back to the program, Agriculture on the Move. Of course, we are talking about youth in agriculture. Very, very important. There's a void, and we keep saying we want to bring the youth back in agriculture. How are we doing it? We have tried many things to get them back in agriculture. We talk about sexing up agriculture. But then, you all are young people. All right, you all lead the next generation. Cindy, yes, I know you get it borderline. But it's a serious thing, because the thing is, I am hearing organizations in silos, and they want to help the youth. ICA wants to help you. Then you have your Sac Project coming on board. Agriculture also came on board. There was the YEP Project. All right, there was a lot of young people involved. I mean, so much money was pumped into the YEP Project. I'm yet to see the results, honestly. I mean, I know there have been success stories, but is there supposed to be a second phase? What's going on? Where are we? What are we doing? There's supposed to be financing. Tell me something here. SAC coming on board. How SAC is coming on board?
I used to be part of YEP, funny enough. But the YEP project, from my estimation, the YEP was not successful, I can see. And part of the challenge was financing. What YEP was supposed to do was bring finance to the youth. And we ask young people to get involved in agriculture or any business, and you don't provide the facilities for them to get there, you're setting them up to fail. Unless, if you don't do it, you ask them to do black magic, because I cannot think of how else they will get the resources they need. And even sometimes you were ready to give them financing. You want somebody to start a business for $20,000, $50,000, you're setting them up to fail. You need to assess that business. Even now, we don't intend on saying to anybody, hey, this is what we're offering you. We want you to tell us, what do you need? And we analyze this and see how best we can assist, how best we can facilitate the process.
The thing is, Eugene, what I find is that the hierarchy sit and they plan for the youth, but they don't plan with the youth. That is an issue. That's always a problem.
And
do you know what they want? They can tell you what they want.
Yeah, that is true.
You know, and that is the problem. So I'm hoping moving forward, something and different formula is going to be looked at. Okay. But I heard the ICA is coming on board with something to do tomorrow, with some meeting tomorrow, is it?
Okay.
What's that program about?
Well, it's not a program, but it's a meeting. The membership drive, or more say the presentation of SLAFI. So we've invited youth all over this. Well, we have a flyer being circulated far and near. I know Miss Eugene can attest to that. Jameson and the rest, that we have been promoting this meeting tomorrow, this membership drive. So not a meeting, but a membership drive. So it's not limited to anyone. As long as you have the link, you register and you join. SLAFI will be presented, somewhat giving a synopsis of what has happened in the past and how SLAFI has but somewhat guided the youth, or give the youth a voice or a place to be, to share their ideas in agriculture. And tomorrow we have this membership drive from 7:30 to 9 p.m. You come on board, you come onto the meeting, you listen to hear what's happening, or what's not in store for you, like Cindy said, but how can we respond to your needs? You can ask questions. It's like a town hall meeting, I should say. And after then, we will be planning for our annual general meeting, and which would be the next step, somewhat, to revitalize the group.
To set an executive.
Yeah. And from then on, our activities will start based on, responding to the needs of the youth.
Where is that meeting going to be held, and what time?
It is a virtual meeting from 7:30 to 9 p.m. The flyers are out, and the flyers are out on the WUSC Caribbean page, on the ICA ECS Instagram page, and some members are sharing it within their personal channels, in groups on WhatsApp, etc.
So in addition to having it virtually, you don't think you all should have had at least a physical meeting?
Because of the time, because what we heard, person said that they were not available during the day. So what we will assess after tomorrow's meeting is there need to have a physical meeting, because the young persons are saying it's better for them to have it on an evening, 7:30, 9. That's what what was presented to us. So we're going with this for now.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we have a registration process, and the numbers are going up. So persons are getting that link, they're seeing the flyer, they're interested. We have that. We can assume that level of interest is being gained from the public, from the youth in public.
Let me ask a question. Why you can allow Slaffy to get to that point and then looking at to revitalize Slaffy at this point? I mean, I don't know. I'm just asking a stupid question.
No question is stupid. Thanks for your question. But perhaps, well, at the time of when the interim was created, and Jameson can interject, you know, but in the time of when the interim was created, there was work to be done on the Constitution, and ICA was working on the Constitution at the time, but it took some time having to revisit the Constitution, get comments from the interim, and go back and forth. So I think the time in the back and forth, and in addition to the delays of not having these active members, or the members being past the age of 35, and according to the Constitution they were not active members. So if they're not active members, then probably they cannot go ahead and do activities or take these initiatives, because according to the Constitution they're not within the youthful age. So until that could have been settled, then they could have go on as active members. I think I'm correct.
But now they're back on and ready to...
Yes, so let's talk about the future and present.
If I can add to that as
yes,
well.
Yes, please.
The interim came around, I think that was late 2019. And following 2019, we all know COVID came and interrupt everything else. And so that there was some delay. So as a member of the interim committee, our role at the time was to review the Constitution, try to ensure it is more inclusive, that is including members past 45. So instead of when someone reach of that youthful age, that they can stay and lend a hand, continue holding on the organization, being a trustee to the organization. So those things were put in place. However, like I said, COVID came around and that had a big void, a big gap, and pretty much like lady said, we're just trying to start it back.
Okay, moving forward. So what are we looking for? What's the bright future?
So now you have two teams. You have ICA, you have WUSC Caribbean. Our chapter, for us, we have the OECS chapter, Dominica and St. Lucia Workers 1. Right. My country coordinator, Nadia, Dr. Paquette Ansem, she is, I'm sure she's watching now, she's ready and saying, Cindy, we need to push and address. We will be working with them to support the youth. I spoke with Greg. Greg called me this morning, the rep for ICA, and he's willing to push, and he said we are going to, hopefully we'll be having an MOU to ensure that we drive youth in agriculture in St. Lucia, and maybe starting off to see youth being represented in Caribbean Week of Agriculture come October, you know? Yes. So we're ready to lend support to see to it that we support the agenda for youth in agriculture.
Where is the Minister of Agriculture in all of this?
We have, like Johnny Smith is our liaison officer on the project, so he is involved. Any discussion, any project with the ministry, we go through him, and the ministry is very supportive because even for the youth project for Slaffy, we have a volunteer coming from Canada to look at governance and leadership. And that document is with the PS. It should be the Ministry of Agriculture right now to approve that Canadian volunteer coming down to ensure, because I've told them that we're having this meeting tomorrow. In the next few weeks, we should have an AGM and we should have a group ready to present that level of support, to get them ready, because we do not want to present resources to them and they're not able to, and they're not equipped to handle and manage these resources. So the through Say So SACO, another Canadian NGO, the government of Canada is pushing some serious resources in that, you know, through the Global Affairs Canada, and we are seeing that we want to get it done right. We're not rushing to throw things at the youth, but the governance and leadership training, hopefully to take place at the end of June, July, thereabouts, we will see to strengthen the Youth in Agriculture Forum.
But Jameson, moving forward, having this revitalization, are you hoping to bring in some youth who were involved with SLAFI? Of course, they have gone beyond that age, to bring them back as success stories, to really groom and let the new persons understand the real reason or objective of SLAFI?
Absolutely. Well, I'm one of those living examples. I'm past that threshold, and that's why I'm here now, lending my voice, lending to share what my success stories with ICA also, well, SLAFI also, myself, and how the agency can help me, you personally, the same way they help me to grow and develop my enterprise.
Okay. So they are success, apart from you, there are other success
Yeah, there
stories
are
out
other
there.
success stories.
Almost all the heads of the ministry, I was just speaking to them and say to them, the chief vet right now was a SLAFI executive member, Hannah, who is the head of research. So all of these persons who are there
the dean at
Sir Arthur.
So
they are now in influential positions, so we expect their support as past members of SLAFI to see to it that they, pull through and let this happen for the youth, because the challenges are still the same. The problems we had, I'm looking at a report that was presented in 2009 on assessing the challenges of youth in agriculture in the Caribbean. They are still the same. Still the same. So we cannot do this again.
Go ahead.
One of the points I want to elaborate on, Ms. Eugene highlighted, finance for the youth in agriculture. This is one of the biggest hurdles. I'm still suffering from it, and I in some sense, were a little preview due to my work. Due to my work, I was able to do some of the things I did, but there is no really support for the youth. We have the SLDB, the Development Bank. The banks don't want to head the youth. They don't want to invest in the youth. They don't want to. You understand? They don't want to give the youth the chance. And I think if those barriers can be broken, I think we can see more success in agriculture and more success in youth in agriculture.
Well, I hope Ms. Charles at SLB is hearing that.
But I'm seeing the youth economies now.
Well, that's another thing. You see that one? I'm hoping that should take off.
SLAFI should find its place.
Find some space there in the youth economy. I think that's the way to start. And I think if that
it goes back to the financing aspect of it. Will there be financing opportunities for the youth? And I think if those opportunities come with financing, it will break many of the barriers that you have.
I totally agree with you. Yeah.
Because the technology young people are interested in, it's not cheap.
It's not cheap.
Exactly.
What we are working with women in Delce right now, the Sac Project, and what we are about to put down an irrigation pilot. One of the things I want to see that the women can sit by the market and turn on the irrigation on the phone.
Exactly.
So we'd like to see another project we have, because there's another guy in Dennery, a desalination problem that we have in St. Lucia. We have saltwater intrusion.
That's right.
You have saltwater coming into the farms in St. Lucia, places that the saltwater did not used to get.
Correct. Yeah.
So can we look at a desalination system? We had a young man that
from
the library. Right.
Yeah.
He had this. Where is he now?
Other countries have adopted him.
And where
so
are
he's
we?
gone.
And where are we? You know, the matter of food waste. Do we need to be producing more food, or can we
food
be more
security
efficient?
is key. Now it's very, very key. And our minister's mantra, the Honorable Alfred Prosper, is food and nutrition security.
We had a roundtable discussion on Monday at Dennery with CCG, Choice Cooperative Group, and it was discussing food security. You had young farmers there speaking of their challenges and their problems. But at the end of the day, too, when you look at the focus, the approach that we take in is the inclusive market system, understanding the wants, the needs of the consumer, ensuring that we understand the market and provide for the market. When COVID hit, what did people want? Everybody looked for zinc. So why don't we teach people to eat the foods that have these micronutrients?
Well, I'll stop you there. We end the program. Continue again. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here. And I'm looking forward. This time, I hope SLAFI stays on top, and there shouldn't be no drop. So I thank you very much for being here. So Ika, take the bull by the horn and run with it. Thank you again for being here.
Running.
All right, great. You have been watching Agriculture The Move. Thank you for viewing the program, and I hope if it's a program that you can call in and get information from Ika for this meeting tomorrow. Thank you again for viewing. I'm Philip Sidney. Goodbye.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole en mouvement.
I've been working so very hard on this Blue Bio Trade project, and I do not want to leave them out. So